My name's Alan Wiggs, and tonight we have a special edition of the Samurai of Spoken Word. Welcome to our evening of agitation. Yes, the growling is not constructive, but appreciated. First up, we have a man of my recent acquaintance, but of long admiration.
Lying motherfucker.
That's what I do. Someone with whom I don't always see eye to eye, but will always remember to shield my face around. Tonight, like all of our samurai, in support of the American Cancer Society, we have Rocco Caniglia.
Holy shit, there's like 12 people out there. Yeah! Right on.
Woo! We got 5 on the internet.
Oh, sweet. Hey, internet pricks, kiss my ass.
They can't hear you when you move away from the mic.
Oh, whatever. Hey, you know what? I mean, is this?
That's the internet.
Oh. Well, kiss my ass, internet. Son of a bitch. Half a bottle of wine and a fucking Foster's oil can. There we go. How's everyone doing tonight, goddammit? Nice, nice. So, judging by the crowd, do we have a lot of smokers in the audience? People that smoke cigarettes, by round of applause? Okay, do we have any people, not non-smokers, but people that are considered like anti-smokers, completely against smoking in all of its forms? Anyone? Fuck you. Fuck a whole lot of you. Fuck the horse you rode in on, and fuck your mother for having you. I'm gonna tell you all a story because I think it's pertinent. You know, I started this job, and let me first start off by saying I am by no stretch a morning person. I don't like to get up before 1 o'clock, and I don't like to go to bed before 4 o'clock. Well, now it's kind of flipped around to where I have to get up at 4 o'clock and go to bed at 1 o'clock. Anyways, that shit never happens, but regardless. So I take the bus because I don't drive, because I have a tendency to drink, and I really don't like putting people in danger. Actually, I just drove too many times drunk to fucking keep my license. Anyways, so I started going to the bus stop at this house, the new house that I bought, which is down the street. It's on 108th and Center. So I go down there one day, and I don't have any cigarettes on me, which, as smokers know, is your fucking worst nightmare, waking up in the morning without a cigarette. So I go down there, and I walk around to the convenience store that's right there, and there's this lady who's laying a baguette at the door, like it's a fucking baby in a carriage or some shit. And I walk up to her, and I look around. I know the store is closed, but I just want to see what time they open. Maybe they open at 5:30, maybe I can get a pack of smokes, God willing, but no. They open at 6, that's when my bus comes. Long story short, this lady looks at me and goes, yeah, they're closed. Yeah, the lack of lights that are on and the lack of human presence didn't fucking tell me that to begin with, you dumb bitch. Anyways, I look at her and I say, oh, okay, well, do you happen to smoke? She looks at me and goes, no, I despise them. All right, cool. I start walking away. Whatever, conversation's done, right? No, she walks up and then she says, they cause cancer. No shit! I didn't know that from the fucking warning on my cigarette pack, the fucking all the lessons that they gave me in school, all this other shit. No shit, they cause cancer. All right, fine, they cause cancer. So the next day, walk down to the bus stop, light up a cigarette. Same lady standing there. Looks at me and goes, all right. Okay, obviously she really fucking hates smokers. Okay, cool, I'm good with that, whatever. So then, about a week goes by because my schedule changes, and I get to the bus stop again. Now there's 2 of them, okay? I walk up smoking a cigarette, and this lady looks at me dead in the eyes and says, the reason I say it like that is because I was so tired I didn't hear what the fucking crazy chick was saying. And I really didn't give a shit at that point. I just wanted my fucking cigarette. So anyone who's ever taken the bus knows you need exact change. So if you want to take the bus and get a transfer, you need exactly $1.02. If you just want to take the bus, you need exactly $1.01. I had a quarter and 5s and 20s. So these two ladies walk about 10 feet away from me, and as soon as I realize that I don't have change, I walk over to them and I say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me! Do any of you ladies happen to have change for a 5? And they look at me and go, you need to stay away from us. I'm like, all right, what do I smell like? What the fuck? I'm like, I'm just wondering if you have change for a 5, and they go, no, not for somebody who smokes and gives cancer to people. Okay, like I said before, I'm not really a morning person, and I really wanted to go off on them at this point. But to tell you the honest to God's, just couldn't muster up the energy and really didn't give a shit enough. So anyways, today, I wasn't smoking, and there were 3 of them that walked up. And the first thing I said was, Jesus, do you fuckers multiply? What the fuck is going on? So anyways, I asked the bus driver, you know the 2 ladies at the bus stop, blah, 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 blah. And she says, yeah. And I'm like, what's up with them? Did they have somebody like close to them die of lung cancer, or did they have like some sort of allergy to smoke? I mean, what's going on with them? And she looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, no, they're special. Okay, what do you mean by special? And they say, no, they've got, mental issues and shit like that. They're a little bit sensitive about things. I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. So we started talking, and apparently it had turned from me asking for change to I was begging them for money, and then when they didn't give me money, I was cussing them out, which anyone who knows me knows that that's totally not in my character to cuss anybody out. So, basically the point of this story is, I'm really glad that I didn't go off on them, because I don't feel that going off on somebody with, mental issues is really a positive way of solving problems. But anyways, I was telling this guy Kyle that I work with about this. And by the way, disclaimer, if anyone out there has anyone that's mentally handicapped or whatever in their family, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna use the word retard just because. And I'm gonna lump, because there's so many people that I've met with so many different mental handicaps that's the only way that my drunken, stupid mind can lump everyone into one category. So anyways, he looks at me and goes, yeah, when I was up in Minneapolis, I got beat up by a retarded cab driver once. Oh really, what's this story? So anyone who's ever been at a Christmas party and gotten way too drunk knows that the way that they politely ask you to leave is, yeah, you need to get in a cab and go home. So he gets in a cab, goes home, and this guy is mentally challenged and is talking to him all weird, and he's kind of bobbing in and out of sleep, and he realizes he doesn't have any money. So the dude, so my friend Kyle looks at him and goes, hey, I don't have any money, can I go up to my apartment and write you a check? And the guy freaks the fuck out on him, grabs his throat and starts trying to choke him. Kyle's like, get the fuck off of me, jumps out of the cab. The dude gets out of his cab and pops him right in the face, perfect, right hit, hook to the eye, knocks him on the ground. Anyways, you know what, I'm just gonna stop it right there because that story was way funnier when we were telling it earlier. Anyways, as far as this whole shit goes, what I was getting at was where my daughter goes to school at, there's this kid in a wheelchair. And he's mentally handicapped and he has a lot of problems. But one day, I saw him actually smiling. And the teacher was playing with him, and when his mom came in, the way that they interacted was truly beautiful. So I wrote a poem off of it, and it's called The Kid in the Wheelchair is Smiling. I hope you all enjoyed it. The kid in the wheelchair is smiling. His parents are stressed out, constantly asking God why. Why is their blessing tainted? With all the nights of screaming and frustration, all the extra bills, all the extra work, I wonder if they wonder if that trip to the clinic would have been worth it. I wonder if they thought they had the courage to face the challenge of the handicapped. I wonder if now they're cowards. They haven't slept for 8 years. Some people wish their kids could stay infants forever, but be careful what you wish for. It may be a curse. It makes the problems of my day seem trivial, even foolish or selfish. But today is different. Today, the kid in the wheelchair is smiling, which makes his teacher smile. And then his haggard mother walks in, sees his beaming face. She chuckles, smiles lightly as a tear rolls down her cheek. Forgetting about my trials, today is a good day. Thank you. Okay, off the offensive shit, have any of y'all out there seen like Maury Povich or a show called Toddlers and Tiaras? Why in the fuck are you clapping so loud for that? No, go ahead.
Trash TV.
Shit.
And it makes us feel like better daycare providers watching those bad fucking parents.
Right on. Give them a round of applause for that. You know, because watching those two shows, it truly is the decline of Western civilization, if you really watch it. I mean, first off, we'll start with Maury and how he's talking to some chick. And I wonder, like, how he can keep a straight face with this shit. Like, this is Tamara's 15th time being on this show looking for her baby's daddy. And Tamara's next to me say, yeah, Maury, I'm just trying to figure things out. I'm trying to give my kid a good life. It has nothing to do with the free trip to Chicago, blah, blah, blah. And she's white. And, oh, fuck you, that's funny, come on. Anyways, watching Maury, shit, Jesus Christ, I'm drunk. So yeah, watching that, and then, you know, they get the 15th guy out, who's, you know, comes out, and he's like, and of course the crowd boos him, because he's like, I know for a fact that this ain't my kid, because she fucked 7 of my friends in the same week that she fucked me, and blah, blah, blah. Comes out on stage, same old typical shit, crowd boos him. And then Maury, you know, is talking to him, and he's like, yeah, she's a whore, and they're arguing back and forth about ready to throw bottles at each other, and then Maury asks him the quintessential question. He goes, what are you gonna do if this kid really is your kid? And the guy looks at him and goes, well, you know what, Maury? I'm gonna stand up, I'm gonna be a father to this kid, which completely turns the whole fucking audience around on him. And they're like, yeah, good way to be a man, and blah, blah, blah. But then the results come out. And you know, Maury takes like 10 minutes to get the shit. He's like, we have the results. And then cut to commercial. Commercial comes back and he goes, we have the results right here. Jackson, you are not the father. All of a sudden the audience, ah! And she fucking runs off screaming, ah! And this fucking guy starts jumping around like he fucking won the lottery or some shit. Guy should have just been like, you know what? Fuck you, I knew it wasn't my kid. I should have just stayed the fuck home in my fucking trailer and fucking told you to kiss my ass, whatever. So anyways, after seeing all that stuff, and then seeing all the protests that are going on lately, you know, it's all started with Occupy Wall Street. And once that shit hit, now everyone's protesting everything. Fucking people are out there protesting the grass is green and shit. So I just...
It should be blue.
You're goddamn right, it should be blue.
Purple grass, no!
Plaid, 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 plaid.
Hey, fuck you, Internet.
Yeah, I banged them last time.
Anyways, I don't really have a name for this. I was going to call it Hard Liquor to Bastard Men, but the theme of it kind of changed, so here we go. Plus, if anyone of you are familiar with a rapper named Aesop Rock, anyone? Yeah. Right on, right the fuck on. Yeah, I used to fancy myself a rapper, but then I realized I'm too fat and don't have the breath control for it. And so yeah, I listened to some Aesop rock and I decided to get back to my roots, so here goes. Digital Doonesbury cartoons. Uncle Duke rolls his grave as college kids vlog on their iPads and claim to be the Dune. Anti-smoker logic. I hope most choke. How's your answer that I give cancer when I'm the one inhaling all the cigarette smoke? So broke, man, I can't afford lights. So occupy those hamlets for financial rights. Rather walk up to them suits and cock the long sword twice. 60s retro protest amateurs looking for damages from some old Christian bastard trying to slang sandwiches. Voting for cheats, murderers, and tax collectors, but quite content to throw jokes about child molesters. So most would rather hold vigils instead of hold candles. This is the gospel, according to Jack Daniels. So put your placards away, man, and push your picket lines back. Take a look at yourself and protest that. Thank you. Any vegans out there? Vegetarians?
At this point, I don't think anyone's admitted anything.
Which segues me into my next point. Who the fuck thought of vegan bacon? What fucking bastard decided to take one of the most holiest things on this planet and completely rape it? Can somebody answer me that? Now, here's what I fail to understand. If you decide to become a vegan, vegetarian, whatever it is, there are certain things that you give up because of it, right? You give up meat, you give up bacon, you give up hamburgers. But no, not these assholes. Because they're a special type of prick. They decide that they want to have their cake and eat it too, so they fucking decide to expose the populace to this unholy hell known as vegan bacon. If you've ever had vegan bacon, it's basically tofu hell that tastes like plastic. And it fucking sucks. And as a writer, I can't even put it into better words than that. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go into a poem called The Two Things I Love. Because I'm a chef, and I love women, so. What, for the chef or loving women? Oh, right on. They're back on my side, thank God. I think I made amends for that whole first bit, Jesus Christ. Some men like them like green beans, young and tender. But I like them like ketchup, thick and rich. Some men like them Pittsburgh, seared black on the outside with a raw center. But some men like them medium, perfect brown with the perfect pink. Some men like Latina peppers, spicy, liable to give you a kick in the face. Some men like them like lamb, so young, so succulent. Some men like them like blue cheese, old and of the earth. Some men just like them any way that they're prepared. Some like them hot, some like them cold. Some like them young and some like them old. Some like them strong and bold. Me, I just like to eat everything because they're all delicious. Thank you. All right, we're coming towards the end of my set. And I think I'm successfully pitting out in this shirt like I figured I would. By the way, I'm usually not this big of an asshole. Usually, this is all new material that I'm just kind of trying out tonight.
You lied.
Okay, you're right. I am this big of an asshole. But a funny thought crossed my mind. Why do they call it taking a shit when you're actually giving it away? And Dave, you had mentioned that you and a couple of the samurai went on a long road trip to Missouri. Yeah? Okay. The worst is when you have to take a shit on a road trip.
Amen.
Because here's exactly what happens. Let me outline this for you. Basically, you pull over, you get gas, you get your energy drink, you get your pack of smokes, and you're ready to go. And you turn on the radio, and Tom Cochran, Life is a Highway starts playing, and you start rolling out, and everything is just awesome at that point, until your stomach gurgles. And at that point, you realize your worst nightmare, holy hell, I have to take a shit. And right as that realization hits your brain, you look over to the right and you see one of those signs that say, nothing for 50 miles. It might as well say, welcome to Road Warrior, the movie. No food, no water, you lucky you have air, asshole. Watch out for the humongous. By the way, that's a Sam Kinison bit. I gotta give him props. God rest in peace, Sam. Anyways, so you're driving. And at first it's not that bad. You're like, okay, I can hold it. I can hold it, I can hold it. About 10 minutes go by and you're like, God, it's come out. This fucking sucks. So then you try to take your mind off it. So you start smoking cigarettes. And everyone knows when you smoke cigarettes, those are diuretics, right? Or you start drinking your energy drink, which has fucking, I don't know, about 17 kilos of caffeine in it, which is also a diuretic. So then all of a sudden that makes it worse. So it doesn't matter how much fucking Tom Cochran or Red Ryder's on the fucking radio at that point. The only thing you're thinking of is I gotta get this out of me. I gotta get it out of me. You feel like a pregnant woman. I gotta get it out of me. So keep on driving. And then it gets so bad at one point you're actually debating with yourself. It's like, I could totally pull over right now. I haven't seen anyone in about 20 minutes. I could totally pull over to the side of the road. So you start looking through your car, looking for old napkins from Wendy's or wherever the fuck you went. Can't find anything, looking for loose pieces of paper. You just cleaned your goddamn car before you left because, hey, I want to go where I'm going in a clean car and make it look like that I make more money, so fuck you. So anyways, you keep on driving, you keep on going. Next thing you know, it's so bad, you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna pull over, fuck it. You look at your fucking car mat and you're like, damn it. If I don't see anything within the next 60 seconds, I'm doing it, I'm totally doing it. You know what, a car mat, that's not gonna devalue my car that much. I mean, the thing's only worth 600 bucks anyway, so fuck it. Next thing you know, you see a sign. Gas station 1 mile. Thank God. And you pull up to this little podunk gas station, you fucking whip in, fucking do something out of Fast and the Furious, whip around, perfect, fucking parallel parking between two cars, you run inside. You run in, you look at this fucking country bumpkin right in the eye, and you say, I need to use the bathroom now, motherfucker, please. And what's he look at you and say? What's he say? You gotta buy something first. All right, fucking give me this pack of gum. All right, give me the pack of gum. And this cocksucker is the slowest son of a bitch to ever rent anything up. He's looking at the gum, looking around for the price. And you see the key right behind him. And you think to yourself, I can just lay him the fuck out, grab the key, and handle this shit right now. But no, you're trying to be an upstanding member of society. So eventually he gets you rung up. He looks good, $1.19. You throw him 100. Keep the change, give me the fucking key. So he's like, no, gotta count out the change. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Pass you the money, and you're standing there like, you got your... Can I get the key? Oh, I forgot. Turns around, grabs the key, gives the key. You're out the door like a gunshot. Leave the cigarettes, leave the gum, leave your change, leave everything. You run into the bathroom. And anyone who's ever seen one of these podunk bathrooms will know what I'm talking about. You open the door because it's like Xanadu. You're almost there, you're almost home. You open the door and you look around and there are roaches and rats crawling around. Fucking... It's like something out of Saw. You know, all of a sudden a little TV flickers on, Jigsaw fucking tricycles in, he's like, hello, Rocco. You spent most of your life trying to take a shit. But you know now, you have a choice to make. You can either take a shit on this had the same purpose at the same time. Or you could shit your pants. The choice is yours. You look at this fucking toilet, and you look at the toilet, you look at the paper towels that are hanging down, you're like, there's no amount of scrubbing that's gonna get any of those fucking germs off. So you try to hover, and anyone who's ever tried to hover knows that that is the most uncomfortable shitting position ever. Like, all of a sudden you're trying to turn into a fucking Buddhist monk. Yeah. No, it doesn't happen. So, I don't know about y'all, but here's the way my story ended. I sat on the motherfucker and I took a shit. And I took the fucking raunchiest shit that I've ever taken in my entire life, and god damn it, it felt good. It felt so great. Heaven, thy name is taking a shit right now on this herpes-infested atheist toilet. But one more problem. Because in this ecstasy-ridden shit that I was taking, I failed to look to my right and notice that there was no toilet paper. But that's okay, because you know what? I am resilient. I use the things that are at my disposal. I actually took off my socks, took off my underwear, wiped my ass, and left it in a corner, which is really weird to me. No, it's really weird to me because I was actually wearing a bathing suit and flip-flops at the time. So how I pulled that one off, I have no clue. Anyways, the next poem I'm about to do has nothing to do with taking a shit, but it does have to do with puking on a chick. This is called Hung Over and Over. The sun shines and the birds chirp happy songs. All I want is a dimmer switch and volume control. Or better yet, those rats with wings to shut the fuck up. I've woken up drenched in sweat that I can distill. I look over at the girl from the night before. It's hard to believe that a mere 6 hours earlier would have spelled matrimony. And now I'm laying next to Streetwalker Barbie. So I feel my nachos and burrito making a break for the border, but I'm too lazy to get up. So my nachos find their home on Barbie's back, who slowly coos. Oh, that's the best sex I ever had. I make it up, jump to the bathroom, expel the rest of my forgotten meal. Next thing I know, Barbie's shrill voice from the other side of the room. As I'm looking into soulless eyes, I hear, "What the fuck did you do?" "Hey, baby, I puked on you." "Well, you need to get the fuck out of my house." "Oh, gladly, as quick as a dormouse." So my head pounds like John Henry slamming railroad ties. It pounds, but I make my way down the door with my underwear and clothes in one arm. Make it down the block, fully clothed at this point, I might add. Pass out in the yard. But what's one to do when you wake up at 1 o'clock still hungover? Shit, I gotta work it too. Thank you. Am I done?
Oh, I'm sorry. You had another one?
Yeah, can I do one more? I'll make it quick.
All right.
Okay. Anyways, this one's called Full Moon. This has been my time. My name's Rocco Caniglia. Here. Me and my wife have been getting along really well lately, so anyways, here you go. Full moon true, half moon turns blue, waiting so patiently for this moon to turn new, but that bird flew. So what's one to do when your wife spits instead of pucker? She's so sick, kissing a fool. And what's one to do when your kids weep away the night because you can't afford food? This isn't written for posterity or accolades for all of my woes. This is written for the pros, all the girls they call hoes. Those who get caught up in desperation, then get caught, and now they're wearing state's clothes. The mothers, the brothers, the fathers, the daughters, the sisters, the blisters, from working my hands to their goddamn bones. Wrap all this up in pretty little bows, but I'm sorry, folks, that's not the way the life goes. My name's Rocco Caniglia, thanks.
And And I just got to add one thing. It wasn't the Fast and the Furious. That move was from Blues Brothers. All right, everybody. As I said before, my name is Alan Wiggs. And now, as you heard from Rocco, and you'll hear at our other shows, we samurai spend a lot of time talking about ourselves and our lives, which is okay, because we are all awesome and everyone should want to be just like us. Except Rocco. Everyone should do the opposite of that. Ooh. Hmm? Sorry. That better? I am too tall for this mic. Hmm? Ha! All right. But today, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. Specifically, I want to talk about how all of you suck. A little more specifically, I want to talk about how all of your brains suck. And certain parts of your bodies. I got on this topic recently because I was called out by a friend for comparing myself too much to other people because, you know, how good am I at my job? How good looking am I? All of these different things. But I was told, well, you can't compare yourself to other people. You have to compare yourself to the goals you want to accomplish. What are the things that you want to do in life? Measure yourself against those. And I'm like, okay, well, but what if we apply this to the entire human race? How is humanity at the goals it wants to accomplish? And I look around myself at the world, and I say a little bit shitty. Humanity as a whole seems to have gotten to the point where we spend about as much time complaining about how shitty everyone else is at their jobs as we spend fucking up our own. So I think about where do people come from and why is it that we've found ourselves in a situation that biologically and psychologically we seem to be massively unsuited for things like driving to work and voting for someone who is not going to fuck us in the ass. So I want to look back into the past. And so when you look at the evolution of the human race, and yes, I'm going to talk about evolution. If there's anyone here that has a problem with discussing that particular theory, don't leave. You're going to learn something. I can make you do a lot of things, though. So the human race, as it is today, evolved in a situation where we were primarily hunter-gatherers. We were out there in the savannas or the forests. We were looking for edible things to keep us from dying, and we were traveling about in small bands. So we were in a world that was filled with dangers. Anytime you look around, if there was a rustle in the bushes, that might be a leopard jumping out to eat your face. And it's hard to go around without a face. So we developed, over time, certain adaptations. Because basically, anyone who was not inclined to scream and run every time they saw a rustle in the bushes was probably going to get eaten by a leopard. Which means that we are descended from a bunch of cowards. So even to today, that, oh shit, there's a leopard reflex is inside your brain. It's sitting there all the time. Most of you have never seen a leopard, and if you did run into one, you wouldn't be able to run away fast enough. But all the way through the 16th century, you know, you had Leonardo da Vinci looking over his shoulder for a goddamn leopard when he's painting the Mona Lisa. You've got friggin' Neil Armstrong on the moon, sees a shadow, thinks there's a moon leopard. This has no usefulness to us anymore. If there was an epidemic of leopards, if you took every leopard in the world, made 50 clones of it, dropped them into major population centers, it would still not put a dent in human populations. But because this was a thing that mattered to us 1.5 million years ago, now we have to deal with the fact that if I don't have a mirror in my cubicle at work, I jump every time somebody walks by me. I wish! Then it would be useful! But this is just one example of all of the habits that we have ingrained in us because of our evolution. Some of them are still useful, some of them aren't. One of the ones that is still useful is the fact that we recognize faces. I can look over you and I can see that like there's some people that I've seen before. I am on the low end of face recognition as far as the human species goes. I have to get reintroduced to people 5 or 6 times. But still, if you put me in a room filled with cows or dogs, I would not be able to tell them apart as well as I can people, because people are designed to look at other people and pay attention to other people and know other people. And that is because we are a social species. And the thing about social species is that there's a larger part of our brain that is designed to recognize these sorts of patterns. And pattern recognition is essentially why the human brain is as big as complicated as it is. Some of those patterns are leopards jumping out of the bushes, but most of them are ones that have to do with interpersonal relationships. And that is what humans are better at, and better at fucking up than any other species. So when a person looks at another person's face, it's not just that you recognize someone and can think, okay, so this is the person that I work with every day and that I can't stand his jokes, so I'm just going to have a fixed smile on my face all day long. And then you look at somebody else that you meet on the street and be like, hey, that guy fucked my wife. And then you have to call your wife and say, hey, that guy that fucked my wife, was he good or bad? Because I can't remember whether to punch him in the face. So we have this phenomenon of self-awareness. We have this idea that you look at other people and you don't just think about them, but you actually think about their relationship to you. Self-awareness is something that is very rare among animals. And this, more than anything else, describes human intelligence. I mean, people talk about apes and how they're so smart for most animals, how they can take a stick and get termites on it and use tools and all of this. And it's like, okay, apes have opposable thumbs. You have opposable thumbs to cats, and they'll have mastered firearms by within a week. Stealing cat isn't just watching you masturbate, he is marking you for the sniper across the street. If they could get into cabinets, they would destroy us as a species in minutes. What is important about apes is not just that they have opposable thumbs and can use tools and are related to our genetic progenitors, but they have self-awareness. If you put an ape in front of a mirror, they'll know that they're looking at themselves and not looking at another ape. You do this with a dog or a cat? No. They're never going to do that no matter how long you leave them there. Because self-awareness is the idea that I can see the rest of the world and I can see me and I consider them to be different. I have a natural duality when I'm looking at the universe. And that is what fucks up everything to do with human beings. Because self-awareness, and this is where I go a little bit further away from the scientific description of things and go into a little bit more of my personal philosophy. But self-awareness is where we get essentially our 2 human impulses. There are 2 impulses that drive human society and psychology, and that is the fear of that which is different and the wanting to explain things on our own terms. 2 things that basically make each other impossible, but we do every second of every day. As an example, if you go to any group of people and you say, who is worse, Adolf Hitler or Jeffrey Dahmer? You might have a little bit of a discussion, but generally, Adolf Hitler caused the deaths of millions, threw Europe into chaos, generally considered to be one of the greatest bastards of the 20th century. Not a huge contest. Jeffrey Dahmer ate a couple guys. Terrible person, did not alter the course of human events irrevocably and change the economies of most modern societies. But who are we more afraid of? If you had to stand and look one of them in the eye, generally you're going to twitch faster in front of Dahmer. Serial killers, their affect their motivations, they are fundamentally indescribable to us. If you say, why did Hitler do what he does? It's like, well, for power, for glory, for the Reich. You know, there's all kinds of explanations that you can give for that. Why did Jeffrey Dahmer do what he does? Because he's fucking batshit crazy. And crazy is one of those things that we fear, something that we don't understand. Basically, as much as we can explain to something to say, well, if I was that person, I would do this. If you can do that, you're not scared of that person. You might be wary of them, you might not like them, you might say, well, I'd do the same thing in their position, but they're still a fucker. But you're not going to say, that person is not a human being. You're not going to say, that person is dissociated from my reality, because that's how we build what we see in the world. We look around and we say, I believe this and I think this, so I do that. So you have the same thing when it comes to everyone else that you see. It's called theory of mind, which is a terrible word. It's not a theory. Theories are based on facts and things we can verify. It's more like a guess of mind. And this guess of mind is something that we extend to everything and everyone, and animals, and leopards, and rocks, and the wind. Because once you start ascribing intentionality to things, once you say, well, that cat ate that rat because it wanted to, because you can think you know what a cat wants, then you can think you know what the wind wants. You can think you know that those rain clouds really want to shoot your house with lightning. Do they want that? Or do you just want to describe everything in the universe in the same terms as your goddamn stupid-ass brain? And this is where God comes from. I say this is where God comes from because the only way that you can think of some sort of anthropomorphic want or purpose for the entire universe is to have this idea in your head that everything has to have intentionality. Is that because my brain works according to a certain set of rules, then the entire universe must work according to that same certain set of rules. This is purpose and intelligence invested in nature. If I was writing a book, I'd call it anthropomorphism. Well, if I was writing a book that I wanted people in college to read. And this is pretty much where humanity starts to suck. This is where we say, I think God wants this, you think God wants that. It doesn't even have to be about God or about the universe, but simply you have this idea that there is a structure to everything, and I know what it is because it works according to the rules of my brain, and if you agree with me, then you're on my side, and if you agree with him, you're on his side. Because all of these guys are dudes, aren't they? And that's where we get our disagreements. And even when you try to get beyond that, even when you try to say, well, there's rules that run the world that are separate from any person, even when you try to say that there's physics and math and other things that you can separate from your own fucked up psychology, there's still this base idea of I'm me and you're you, and I can only like you as much as I can understand you. So we have what we describe in psychology or sociology as the other, which is just so chilling. You have to say it with a capital letter, otherwise you don't get the effect, the other. And the other means that you can point to any one little thing that you don't agree with or don't understand or don't share with anybody, and you can use it as a basis for killing them, killing their family, rape, pillage, theft, anything that you want to do but you know isn't right, you can justify by saying that person is different from me. And of course that person is different from you. If they weren't different from you, then they would be you. They don't happen to be standing where you're standing at any given moment, which gives you just enough reason to justify whatever the fuck you want to do at the moment. Now, I don't want everybody to be the same person. I don't want us all to be working in a hive mind like ants. But I can't countenance this. I cannot resolve this with my idea of a benign humanity. And I don't have a way out on this. I'm not here to tell you that I have a plan. I mean, I would stand up here and say, evolution got us into this, and by God, I hope evolution will get us out, because I don't have faith in evolution. I just know it exists. And evolution does not exactly have a proven track record against things like nuclear weapons and social networking. And really, right now I'm 50-50 on whether Twitter or nukes are going to cause the apocalypse. But I do know this. I do know that I believe in the human spirit and ingenuity, and I know that the reason why we're bumping up against each other so much is because we have the technology and the agriculture to build this many people in one place, and hopefully if we put our brains together, we can put something together that helps it. And as soon as they build something that I can plug into my brainstem that lets me walk around wearing someone else's neurons, sign me up. Because unless you can literally walk a mile in someone else's shoes, I don't think you're ever going to see things from their perspective. And all of this time we spend thinking we can, that is only going to be our downfall. And that is all I got this evening, folks. Ah. Hey, don't lump me in with all the rest of you Homo sapiens. You know where I'm from.
I know where you live.
Nah. But next up to hopefully take your mind off of all of my doom and gloom is the lovely family.
All right, Amy, here's your shout out. Hi, Amy. We've got a few people watching online tonight, so I'm whoring myself out for thank yous. And Alan, you were very tall. And I don't know how to work this.
You haven't proved it.
There we go. All right. So, would you believe I'm not going to talk about sex tonight? I know. Well, okay, it's maybe just a little bit. And it's a night for something new. We tried a couple things with the internet feed. We wanted to get a different camera. We wanted to try and hook up into the soundboard to get a better recording of the audio, and none of it worked. Sorry, guys. But I'm also going to try out props. I promise not to get a perm and try to be Carrot Top. I swear this to you.
You sure this isn't about sex?
No, no. It is. Have you seen the man lately? No, he kind of looks like a lady. He's got the guy liner. Creeps me out. So to start, we're going to talk about fruit cups. Yes. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Megan. These fuckers are the bane of my lunch existence. Right here. And most of you know that I do keep a blog. This particular piece is called Klutz in a Cup. So if you're curious and you want to read it, I've got business cards around here somewhere that have got my blog address right there next to the donation coffers. Throw a couple bucks in, guys. We're trying to help with cancer research and, kind of assuage some of our cussing and bad behavior. So help us help people with cancer. Like Rocco's giving people, apparently. So
Fuck you.
that's a wonderful finger, but hey,
Does a walker wake up a cigarette, really?
Yeah,
Asshole?
yeah. And I need more than one,
Don't
Rocco.
worry.
Uh-huh.
I'll be back.
So I actually had this all printed out and ready to go by about 2:45 this afternoon, and then I got this wild hair, which meant I was scurrying around my apartment trying to find all this extra equipment. So I brought 2 tech bags tonight rather than just the one. And that means that I printed it and have not reread it. So we're going to kind of try and do this the best I can. But anyway, fruit cups. Fruit cups. This started as an open letter to Dole. It says, Dear Dole and companies that make delicious lunch-sized fruit in a cup. I am both a grown woman and the kind of person that warrants a few stupid warning labels. Your packaging, while probably efficient in their use of materials, makes me look like an extra in a bukkake porn before I even finish consuming them. The thing is, I know that I have a strange predator-prey relationship with your pineapple bits, and have more than once been outsmarted by your mixed fruit in light syrup, as we see here today. I know this, and I still crave it. So, I approach each container like a taloned threat. "You're not the boss of me," I'll say as I put that cup square in the center of my eating surface. We'll have a stare down as I attempt to determine the size of the air bubble under the plastic and how much pressure from my thumb the cover can stand before shooting its load all over my shirt.
About sex.
Directly. Yeah, well, you know. Before shooting its load all over my shirt, leaving me sticky and unsatisfied. Very sad. Very sad. I'll try to be the top, you know, give it the whole "who's your daddy" treatment and take the lid from behind by facing it away from me and pulling the tab like a Lolita's pigtails. Meanwhile, the Mission Impossible theme, the Adam Clayton version, of course, plays on a stereo only I can hear, and I stick my tongue out in a visual effort to concentrate on not fucking this up. Out of fear that I'm going to end up washing the table and the walls of the lunchroom, I'll eventually turn the cup around to face me. Millimeter by painstaking millimeter, I'll pull the tab to get at the fruit. It is at this point when I would like to offer a suggestion. Remember print magazines? Yeah, I know, I forget about them too now that I have a tablet, though it makes reading in the tub a new challenge. Well, I ask about magazines because you used to get samples for perfume and other goodies in them. Magazine publishers would shove that piece of cardstock between two staples and affix the freebie to the card using some sort of adhesive that was 2 parts booger and 1 part flypaper. Not only was that stuff awesome to peel off the glossy paper and use to simulate snot, it has a forgiveness that in its stickiness is closer to Post-it than the tack welding you motherfuckers use. Could you look into maybe changing your sealing methods? I mean, otherwise, one of these days I'm going to end up on the news when the face of Jesus shows up in the splatter on my chest. Which, now that I think about it, isn't the worst reason to end up on the news, I guess. The point is, I'm a goof when it comes to getting at the tasty goodness. Any help would be appreciated, whether it's a bib, or a pull top, or a camera and outsourced or crowdsourced funding for some new fetish genre. Fat girls get corn syrup in the face. I ain't too proud. Thank you. And I'm dating a guy that works at PayPal, and he's responding to me after I send him this link to the blog post. He goes, "Yeah, there's sites for that." Damn it! I don't know how many of you were here for one of the shows when our own Will Ross was emceeing, and I believe he started the introduction of me by saying, "This girl's gone through charm school, and she's actually come out, as in debutante." Anybody here remember that? Yeah. I know, I don't believe it either. But to prove it, I brought the book. 1965 copy of White Gloves and Party Manners. Anybody have to read this bullshit? All right, you're in for a treat. How many people have seen the Stepford Wives? Here's the script. This bright yellow hardcover nightmare. All right, it's not that bad, but it's still kind of creepy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. First of all, I'm not entirely anti-manners. I'm not. But this just still sets my teeth on edge. This was also a post that I put together. It was called "Reviewing White Gloves and Party Manners, Childhood Throwback." All right. In my recent bid to use my bossy rather than greasy elbows and push my crap around my apartment, I came across the textbook we use in charm school all these years ago. Originally published in 1965, White Gloves and Party Manners is a yellow, hardcover manual on how to whitewash your kid into being socially acceptable. And the thing is, it's written in a voice that's speaking directly to the child. Let me first say again that I'm not anti-manners. There are more than a few people in this world that don't know how to behave in a way that won't get them punched in the face. Politeness, knowing your place, balance, and behavior that doesn't inspire violence goes in the pro column. But there are times when you've got to break or ignore the rules to get something accomplished. The real lesson, and that's hard to teach, is knowing when. I'm afraid this book doesn't really help with that. The tone is such that it's the be-all, end-all source for every social situation. My opinion is that there's still room for a but and a why, and there's no allowances made for that. It's totally written in absolutes. Along with the manual came a workbook that included such entries on how to wash your face, brush your hair, sit pretty, and write your name in cursive. None of this sounds sketchy until you read the text. This is a direct quote. Have Daddy take a photo of you sitting pretty and paste it here. Let's pick a few more. I'll have this book if you guys want to see it after the show or during intermission. I feel like story time up here. The family does teach. Usually it's with something latex, but you know. Riding crop, latex, bitch boots, you know. All right, let's see here. At the party, how to answer the door. Answering the door. The hostess opens the door wide, stands aside and lets the guest enter, saying, "Hello, Jackie, please come in," or just, "Come in." If you are the guest at a birthday party, say, "Happy birthday" as you enter. Okay, so we're trying to teach us how to read a script, huh? Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, the text on that, sitting pretty, continues, my mistake. It says, have Daddy take a photo of you sitting pretty and paste it here. I don't plot down, I sit gracefully, and I practice in front of a mirror so I know what I look like to others. Please tell me I'm not the only one whose skin crawls at the use of the word daddy. Or such emphasis on the physical and social appearances. Now, this is crap that I believed up until last year. So I'm sitting here with my excess thighs trying to figure out how to sit pretty without looking like I'm going to piss myself. God damn it, white gloves and party manners. The book also uses absolute languages that makes it seem like there's no other way to behave than what's offered in its pages. In the introduction, the authors state that this book will tell you what to say to make people like you and that manners never change. Well, I can't swallow both of those statements without salting the heck out of them. You can't make a person like you. You can appeal to what statistics say the majority will approve of, but others deciding to like you isn't as simple as following a recipe for meatloaf. In other words, a hater's gonna hate. Also, manners do change. I can tell you that my being brainwashed into thinking that a lady doesn't invite herself along to gatherings has made me appear standoffish and snobby when in fact I'm just trying to fit in. My personality is outside the peak of the bell curve, and pretending to be normal isn't always easy. Sometimes you need the workbooks, just not this one. It's more like training you to be a Stepford wife than a pleasant human being. Manners, like language, do change. Don't believe me? When was the last time you heard prithee? Or what about rolling your eyes when Nana didn't understand what you meant by lol? Certainly things have become accepted and lifestyles evolve. And there's an awful lot in this book that is in no way relevant to the second decade of the 21st century. I mean, when was the last time you wore white gloves outside of a costume party? And this book actually tells you wear your gloves when you're going out to the opera or to the party. And then it teaches you how to take them off, which, just, my little freebie to you, you pull on the fingers one at a time and then pull it off this way rather than just wrenching them off and tearing the stitching. When you will use that, I'm not quite sure, but you're welcome. So much has changed and there's enormous gaps in what's covered. If you're going to teach manners, please, let's talk about the broad ideas behind how not to be an internet troll and that road rage is wasted energy, for example. If given the chance to reboot the book, I'd love to see the references to looks removed. I mean, I understand that there's a place for what kind of hairstyle looks good on you and how to wash your face, but are these really germane to the idea of how to behave in a polite society? And by society, I mean the group of humans outside of your front door, not the hat-wearing, pinky-lifting, cerulean-blooded throwbacks of the world. So sure, good hygiene is important, but I don't equate that or what face shape you've got dictating what sort of hairstyle you should choose with manners. Really, there is some good advice here that probably won't go out of style. Be kind, not bossy, boastful, or selfish. Learn to keep a secret and a promise. Return what you borrow and share things. If you make a mistake, admit it. Don't play favorites with your friends. It teaches you that you should be polite to those who serve you, like a waitress or a bus driver, and that please and thank you are important. But it doesn't really make allowances for a person to be their own or acknowledge that women's roles in the world have changed in the last 50 years. I mean, the sentence, young ladies must learn how to be a proper hostess, but when you go to public places, it is the gentleman who takes over. That's probably going to make a large percentage of equal rights folks squirm. Gender roles aren't what they used to be when the book was originally written, and that dates the book. Also, the tone feels like there's a mold you're supposed to fit, and even if those around you don't. I think we can certainly embrace individuality and equality without sacrificing politeness. I understand that being proper shouldn't be discouraged, but my feelings about the paragraph cited, and by extension the book, is that this doesn't help to develop a girl's personality, but merely apply a coat of polish to the outside. In case you were curious, mine happens to be heartbreaker red in color. I hope I'm not the only one who feels like this is sending the message that it's okay to be a gas station burrito, cooked on the outside but raw in the middle, and that's not okay. The reader is left without guidance about personal development. I find that to be of equal gravity to a person's behavior towards their peers, as well as those of a different social ranking. Does that mean I think the book is useless? No, not entirely. I think it's worth considering if you are good at seeing shades of gray and useful as a supplement for how to cultivate depth of personality. But do I think anyone reading it should realize it's not gospel and that the world has changed since 1965? There will be an exception to almost every rule, and asking why shouldn't be penalized if it's legitimately an effort to understand. So, if you should have any young men or women who you want to tell them to shape up or ship out, that's my take on the little yellow manual. Also, it does have instructions on how to properly curtsy, should you be curious. That was in the workbook. No, nor does it really address leopard print. So I'm kind of on my own with that.
Two opposite ends of evolution.
And that led me into, and actually I'm really glad that your piece was as it was this evening, because that my next segue is talking about personal development as well. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Araya Mountain Dreamers, The Invitation. Has anyone read it, heard of it, anything like this? It's a fantastic piece. I heard it at a wedding a few years ago, and I am not one to be overly emotional, but God damn it, those invisible ninjas cutting onions were at that ceremony. So I wanted to read it to you and just share with you something that's a little more personal this evening, that does not involve my vagina or anything that's been put into it. So, yeah, well, this would chafe horribly. But this is something that really touched me personally, and in the time that I was spending a lot of effort trying to find somebody on online dating, because, let's face it, a two-toned, loudmouth, zoftig person with a very warped sense of shame is not your typical target market. So this was something that really kind of helped me hone in on what to look for in someone else, and hopefully what someone else would look for in me. And again, Araya Mountain Dreamers, The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring with your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from further fear and pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty, every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and stand still on the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the full moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be there. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in those empty moments. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time for a family for classing up the joint a little bit.